quiet now, huh? Look what I got for you. Look what I got for you. You want this? No? You don't want a cookie? Yeah, I know, baby. Well, look. You don't want this cookie?
Mom.
Your grandma died tonight, baby.
Mom.
Your grandma died tonight. But don't be sad, okay? Because that makes you a very, very rich little boy.
You still don't know why Nadine Scott's car wound up wrapped around that bridge abutment.
No, unfortunately, we don't have any more facts, only more speculation.
We can give you 3 possible choices. A mechanical defect in the car.
Except, now, the guy at the rental agency swears he can produce mechanical records that prove that the car was in perfect condition.
She could have been a bad driver, not looked where she was going.
And went 50 feet out of her way to smash into that thing.
Well, maybe she was distracted. Could consider suicide.
Oh, that's ridiculous. She couldn't be sure about ending it all that way. People that commit vehicular suicide, they go off cliffs, things like that.
Well, Chief, you know, I still think that your first idea makes the most sense. I mean, she probably had some sort of a seizure, or a heart attack or stroke, something like that.
And that is why Calvin and I both think we must have an autopsy. You never know what we might find.
We are well aware of the cause of death. She suffered multiple fractures, a punctured lung, and internal bleeding, the last of which is what finally killed her.
Chief, that was her condition after the wreck. I would like to know what she was like before.
Deborah's got a valid point, Chief. I mean, we all know Nadine Scott was ill. I mean, she'd just been released from the hospital.
There's no doubt that Nadine Scott initiated that one-car pileup. There were no moving vehicles in the vicinity at the time of the wreck.
And there were no pedestrians on the street.
For all we know, a stray cat ran across the street. She swerved to avoid hitting it.
Chief, there were no skid marks. There was nothing that indicated that she made any drastic steering corrections.
Yeah, you're right. Well, we still can't discount the possibility of mechanical failure, no matter what the rental agency says.
Chief, do you have any objections to a post-mortem?
I didn't say that I did.
Well, it's the only way we're going to find out what really happened. I mean, Mrs. Scott was already in bad health, so...
She wasn't all that sick. I happen to know that she suffered from some kind of enteritis. With proper care, she would have been okay.
No? Did you talk to her doctor?
No, not yet, but I'm going to.
Her daughter, maybe.
Detective, we are investigating an accident. This is not a criminal matter. Now, what kind of justification can I give for ordering an autopsy?
Why don't you think her next of kin would approve?
You know, that might be interesting. Raven objected.
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Just a comment.
Look, it wouldn't hurt to ask, Chief. I mean, you do want to know what happened, don't you?
No matter how many losses one has, it never gets any easier. We've been friends for something more than 30 years. Sisters couldn't have been closer. And now she's gone.
It was so sudden. I'm sure that contributes to the shock.
God, Logan, what an awful way to lose one's life.
There's never anything to say at a time like this. I just wish there was something that I could do.
I'll be all right.
It's funny. I find myself worrying about how Raven is going to deal with the loss.
Well, she and Nadine were never very close.
Well, be that as it may, I have never, ever seen Raven so upset. I mean, she's taking all of this very, very hard.
Maybe she's suffering pangs of guilt. Wouldn't surprise me at all to find that their quarreling had something to do with all of this. I hope Raven is satisfied. Now she won't have to contend with the bickering anymore.
Geraldine, I don't think you mean that.
You're quite right, I don't. I'm just being overly harsh.
Raven and Nadine certainly didn't have what you would call an idyllic relationship, but I can't bring myself to believe that Raven would want her mother dead.
No, of course not. No, in spite of Raven's faults, I'm sure she must be terribly stricken by all this.
By the way, I called Ansel from over at Raven's place. He was shocked, of course, but I felt that he had to be told. And we did manage to discuss funeral arrangements. I'll get it. Coming! Cliff, what are you doing here at this time of night?
I know it's late, I'm sorry, but boss, we gotta talk. It's important.
It's a little late to drop in unannounced, I would say.
Hi, Geraldine. I'm sorry to barge in like this, but I just heard what happened to Raven's mother.
Well, if you want to pay your respects, I'm sure she's at home, but if I were you, I would wait till later.
I'm worried about how this is going to affect us.
In what way?
We're in the middle of a custody battle, scheduled to go on in 2 days, and now this happens?
Well, I hadn't thought about that. I guess now Raven will get what she wanted.
What do you mean? What's that?
Well, the other day she asked me if I would object to a postponement of the proceedings.
Postponement? Oh, what do you mean? What for?
Well, she didn't say, except that she had things to take care of.
She's just trying to buy time so she can undermine our case. We can't let Judge Lewis grant a postponement.
Well, under the circumstances, I don't see how we can reasonably object to you. Not that I would want to, anyway. Not now. I suppose you're right.
Taking a hard line at a time like this certainly wouldn't gain points with Judge Lewis, that's for sure.
Exactly. Why don't you call her lawyer first thing tomorrow morning and tell him we'll be happy to agree to a 2-week delay.
All right. You know, maybe Raven would want to get this thing over and done with, despite what would happen.
I wouldn't bet on it.
No, but wait, this might be a very good time to take her case to court.
In what way? What do you mean by that?
Sympathy. I mean, her mother did just die.
Good Lord, you may be right.
I think I'd better go see Raven and talk her into a postponement.
Give it a try.
All right. Good night.
Good night, Cliff. Certainly not my favorite way to spend an evening, but I'll be available if you need me.
I hate to drag you out of the house once you've settled in for the night, but I've given this a high priority.
It's all right. Listen, if the procedure's done at all, it's best we do it quickly. I mean, there's less breakdown of tissues, much more chance of our coming up with something.
Well, I don't know that you could find anything anyway. Saxon's being a bulldog on this, so...
Well, as I say, if you do need me, your chief forensics officer is available.
All right, well, just don't hold your breath waiting for the phone to ring. There's only one way this autopsy is going to be performed, and that's with Raven's consent. I just don't know if we're going to get it.
All right, let me know one way or the other, will you? Thanks. Bye-bye.
Derek wants you to do an autopsy of Nadine Scott.
Yeah, maybe.
But why? We know how she died.
Well, we know she died in a car crash. We don't know what caused the car crash.
The report I had said that she lost control of her car and she crashed into a bridge
What
support.
made her lose control of her car? It may be time to look for something that is not quite so obvious.
Well, Nadine hasn't been feeling very well. Maybe her illness was responsible.
Well, that's possible. That's the kind of thing that an autopsy might show.
It's just incredible. I mean, I saw her a week ago at Dr. Stewart's office, and now she's gone.
This is the kind of thing nobody can predict.
She didn't look sick.
Yes, well, sometimes appearances are deceiving. I'm going to have to call Dr. Stewart and get a complete medical history on her.
Well, I'm sure he'll help you.
As a matter of fact, when I call him, I'm going to be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Because he's got another patient I'd be interested to have some information on. My wife.
When you call Dr. Stewart, do me a favor and don't mention my name.
My wife has got a medical problem. Why shouldn't I take an interest?
Miles, you've been watching over me like a mother hen. It's not necessary.
Why don't you just chalk it up to professional curiosity, then?
I don't want to think about being sick because I'm not sick anymore. I am much better.
Well, you have had a little bit more energy lately, a little bit more color in your cheeks.
Right. I mean, this whole anemia business was just temporary. I feel fine.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you got to take care of yourself or it's likely to come back.
You sound like a doctor. How much am I going to have to pay for this consultation?
We both know that it was you who brought on the condition by letting yourself get too run down.
I just do what I have to do.
No, I tell you what, try doing a little bit less than what you have to do. You know perfectly well you can reduce your schedule if you want to.
Look who's talking about reducing schedules, the original workaholic.
No, wait, we're not talking about me now. Come on.
All right. Okay. You cut down on your work schedule, and then I'll cut down
Don't you try to bribe. Don't bribe me now. Listen, I'm telling you all this for your own good.
Kavanaugh, you put in as much work time as I do, and sometimes more. I happen to love you, and I don't like seeing you run yourself into the ground like that. Okay. Tell you what.
What?
I think maybe if you were to cut down on your work time a little bit, if we were both to do that something very good might come out of it.
What is that?
Well, if you spent a little less time in your office, and I spent a little bit less time in my office, then we could both spend more time here and be together.
Look, if I thought there was a chance of seeing you more, I probably could be induced to go into an early retirement.
Oh, really?
It's true.
Well, don't take down your shingle just yet, okay?
What's this?
What's what?
You got it on your face.
Oh, it's just makeup. Surely you've seen makeup before, but if you were any kind of gentleman, you wouldn't mention it.
I'm not a gentleman. I'm a doctor. How much rouge have you got on?
Rouge? Rouge and not with high-button shoes. This is blush on. That's what we call it now. Nowadays, it sounds much nicer.
Well, I got a different word for it. It's camouflage.
Well, surely that's a woman's privilege.
Maybe a woman's privilege. It's not a patient's privilege.
Who said anything about being a patient?
You're a patient. You've got a medical problem.
No.
That's why you've been seeing Dr. Stewart.
I've been seeing Dr. Stewart, but I feel much better.
Maybe
I told
you feel better, but underneath all that pretty blush, you're just as pale as ever?
Pale and interesting. What's wrong with that?
Sweet, are you sure you're all right? You're not just kidding me?
Yes, I am all right. Would you stop worrying?
I worry about you so much because I love you so much.
Well, love me, but don't worry.
Who is it?
Cliff Nelson.
Hi, Cliff. What can I do for you?
I hope I didn't get you at a bad time.
Well,
I'm sorry, that was stupid. This must be a terrible time for you.
you've heard about the accident?
Yes. I want you to know how sorry I am. It was a terrible tragedy.
Thank you for your concern. Well, good night.
I thought we might discuss some business.
Now?
Now, you know that I wouldn't indulge you at a time like this unless it was important. It'd only take a few minutes.
Well, can't we talk about it in court?
That's exactly what I want to talk to you about. When we meet in court.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the proceedings are supposed to begin in about 3 days.
Well, I thought you might want a postponement.
Why would I want that?
To get over the initial shock of your mother's death.
What has happened makes me want to get this thing over with as soon as possible. The sooner the better.
I thought you were all hepped up about putting this off. I mean, at least you were before tonight.
Cliff, it's just me and Jamie now. That's why I want possession as soon as possible, because I want to make sure that Jamie is right here with me forever.
Well, don't you want some time to handle the details of your mother's funeral?
Well, yes. Actually, I should let a little time pass in deference to my mother. Just, make it fast, okay?
That's a very wise decision. I'll, handle the postponement with your lawyer.
Thank you, Cliff.
You know, Raven, you could do yourself a big favor and call off these proceedings altogether.
What?
Oh, no, you're in a very bad time now. You know, the best thing you could do would be to hand Jamie back to Logan before the court takes him back from you.
No!
Be reasonable. With April's testimony and the case we have against you for abandonment, we have you dead to rights. Why go through the emotional strain of a court trial when you know you're going to lose in the end?
Who put you up to this? Did Logan send you here, or was this your idea?
Raven, I just want you to avoid as much heartache as possible.
How dare you? How dare you come in here and try to take advantage of my vulnerabilities? To manipulate me to give up my kid.
That was not my intention at all.
I should report you to the Bar Association. You're trying to take advantage of me, and I've just had a death in the family. Surely that's unethical.
Unethical? Look, I'm just trying to help.
Cliff, Look, I want to make something very, very clear. There is going to be a custody trial, and I am going to win. Logan is not going to take my baby away from me.
Well, with all due respects, dear, that remains to be seen.
My mother is gone, and I will move heaven and earth to keep my son. So, Mr. Nelson, you can just go tell your client that I am more determined than ever to keep my son.
Well, your determination is not going to change the facts.
Don't look so confident about this case, Mr. Hotshot Lawyer, because you're in for a very rude awakening.
Well, facts are facts, and they happen to be on our side.
Well, you can just keep your facts, because I have the judge on my side.
Oh, yeah. You really think so, huh?
Yes. The judge usually awards custody to the mother. And if you don't think that he's going to be particularly sympathetic in this case, you're very wrong, and he's crazy.
You are crazy
Why
now.
don't you just go tell Logan that he should give up this custody case because he is wasting his time?
Are you kidding? Logan would never, ever do that.
Who is it?
It's Deborah Saxon, Raven.
Great, another one of my favorite friends. What do you want?
I'd like to talk to you for a minute if I could.
Why does everyone want to talk to me now? Why can't you just leave me alone with my grief?
Believe me, I am not here to upset you. Cliff, what are you doing here?
Well, you're on business. Don't get excited. And I'm finished. I'm leaving now.
Good night, Cliff. Thanks for dropping by.
I really am sorry about your mother.
Good night.
Good night.
You have my sympathies as well. I want you to know that.
Yeah. What else do you want?
Well, I'd like to ask you one little question, then I'll be on my way.
All right. What is it?
Will you grant permission to have an autopsy performed on your mother's body?
What?
Now, I know it's asking a lot, and this is a bad time, but it's very, very important.
Why?
It's the only way we can come up with an explanation as to the cause of the accident that took your mother's life.
Forget it. Absolutely not.
Don't you want to know why she lost control of the car?
Not particularly. It's not going to give her back her life.
At least give it some thought, Raven.
No! If you think I'm going to let you and your morbid friends get your jollies by cutting up my mother, you are crazy.
I wouldn't ask you this unless it was absolutely necessary.
All I want is a little peace for my mother. And I would like a little peace myself. It has been a particularly trying day, so if you will excuse me.
Why don't we talk about this again in the morning when you're less upset?
No! I said N-O. Can't you understand that? Now, will you please leave?
Raven, don't
Good
fight
night,
me on this.
Detective.
There will be an autopsy performed.
Over my dead body.
Consent of next of kin is the simplest way of getting an autopsy performed, but it's not the only way, Raven. Good night.